All right, Frasiacs, welcome to a brand new episode of Reviewing Sister Wives. We start at the beginning while we wait for the end. Season 1, Episode 2, Courting a Fourth Wife. I watched it this week, and oh my God. I mean, is it wild? This show is so wild when you think about it. And my husband Schman, a.k.a. Dan, that many of you know if you listen to the Sarah Fraser show regularly, was so captured by episode 2. Because we know in episode 2 of season 1, that is when Kody officially goes on his first date with Robyn, and we are introduced to a young, a 30-year-old Robyn. The future Robyn Brown. She has 3 children. Interestingly enough, in this first episode, she alludes to the fact that she is just trying to keep her family, her kids safe in a, safe environment, in a loving environment, alluding to the fact that she was in an alleged abusive relationship for years with her prior husband, David, the father of her 3 children. She's familiar with the polygamy lifestyle, and we find out on episode 2 that Mary was a friend of Robyn's cousin, and that's how we are introduced. And in fact, Mary and Robyn hit it off instantaneously, Mary makes it sound like, and Mary wanted to introduce her to Robyn. We find out in this episode, because Robyn and Kody at this point of season 1, which P.S. was a decade ago, 2010, as you guys know. We find out that Mary and Kody at this point had been married for 20 years. They all get married when they're like 18, so they're still only, 38, 40 years old. They're all very young. And they, along the way, before landing this reality show, had had other potential wives, and it just was never a fit. Wouldn't you love to know? And please, if there have already been articles out there, or if these women have told their stories, do we believe this is true? Like, what other women came into the Brown family and were almost the Robyn? So, Kody opens the show and he's saying the more the merrier, in a polygamy relationship, the more the merrier. I mean, what a curse. What a curse. And everything is hindsight. Everything is hindsight. But I think one of the things that is really special in this episode is I thought it was quite obvious that scene where Kody and Robyn are on camera together for the very first time at Robyn's apartment. It was so obvious. The incredible chemistry. She's almost like, they're just like 2 kids meeting each other for the first time. So bashful. So they want to jump each other's bones, have hot sex. Couldn't you tell? I just felt like it was it was on. It was on. Obviously, Kody, says the very famous line, love should be multiplied and not divided, in the first half of the episode. And the first half of the episode, before Kody and 2 of his daughters from his marriages go with him to Robyn's, because they're going to be babysitters on this 5-hour drive to see Robyn, he says that famous line, love should be multiplied, not divided, which we all know now. They're all like, polygamy doesn't work. None of their kids think it. So if you're thinking about starting the polygamous lifestyle, you're not listening to this podcast. But, if you've got a friend who's like, you know what? I think I'm going to become a polygamist. Be like, Sarah Fraser's episode, Season 1, Episode 2, Reviewing Sister Wives, she brings it full circle of how they say it never works. Well, there you have it. So Kody, says love should be multiplied, not divided, which we now all know is wild. One of the observations, too, about this episode is how straight Kody's hair is. Kody's hair has been a discussion of this show for over a decade, because often, one of the things that you read is the women have referred to over the years that Kody's hair is like the 5th wife. He loves it. He spent a lot of time on it. And in season 1, he flat ironed it, which is why you see this almost weird Amish bizarre bob going on in the back. He would flat iron his hair. Robyn is single, divorced, 30 years old, so young, and she wants to create this safe environment. Again, I already said this. It was just so fascinating that she's kind of alluding to I think the hardships in her life, maybe setting us up for why she is so emotional and so connected to Kody, because she is looking for someone that is going to be safe for her kids. Did anyone else find this interesting? Because I would love to know, being on this enormous hits show that they have, isn't it fascinating that Robyn agreed to be on a reality show when she just met the potential love of her life and showing a polygamy lifestyle? Does anyone else think that's quite remarkable and weird? And maybe Robyn isn't as in love with Kody as he is with her? Now, I say this because in episode 2, we learn that Kody and Robyn have only been dating like 4 months, which Kody says is actually quite long in polygamy. Huh? You're telling me you want me to come into a polygamous lifestyle in less than 4 months? I've got to get to know the kids, the other wives, and your ass, and that's considered lengthy? That's what he says. So, I mean, this is like really an incredible streak of luck that they got this show. And as I told you guys last week, the things surrounding episode 1 and why episode 1 is a little disjointed is because the first half was a pilot, which was rejected by TLC. And then Kody went back to them and said, by the way, we are auditioning this, I always say audition, but we are courting a 4th wife. And then suddenly they perked up and they were like, all right, let's see how this unfolds. And that's how they were greenlit for a first season. And even before that, Christine Brown talks about how they initially couldn't really do a TV show because polygamy was illegal and they were worried about being, prosecuted for that. And it was almost, they were concerned about it, but then it all happened, right? And they had to be very careful in the way that they presented it. So, the other thing I thought that was great about this is you see Kody in love, which we really haven't seen in the past couple of episodes. Seasons. Sure, people are going to argue, well, he's in love with Robyn, and he is in love with Robyn now, right? And we know in season 18, he has said in the one-on-ones that he is in love with Robyn. Really, if he was looking back, and I think this episode was so foreshadowing of that, if he's looking back, he really was always in love. It was always a different feeling with Robyn, which now Christine Brown has said she feels with David Woolley. So I just thought in this episode 2, he really did seem to be in love with Mary. That's what I thought was interesting. He kisses her goodbye. We see the women begin to talk about in this episode the jealousy and the concern of bringing in a 4th wife. They all seem to be all about, it's just so weird to me, right? But I guess this was before they went to therapy and anything was amiss. And this is the lifestyle they signed up for, so it's not shocking. But in this episode 2, we just see the back and forth of them saying, oh, the more the merrier, and love should be multiplied, and we're looking forward to bringing her in. And then really the adverse reactions by Christine and Mary of how sad they are that Kody is going away to see Robyn. It's almost to me as though they had this gut, visceral feeling that something wasn't right. Madison and Aspen we see go along with Kody because they're going to be babysitters as he drives nearly 5 hours to see Robyn and go out on their date, the first date that we're seeing on TV anyway. Robyn seemed like she was doing, Robyn seemed a little bit like she was thrilled to have him because she really wanted a babysitter. And then we're also introduced to the fact, which again leads, already you're kind of seeing the cracks, right? Where Christine talks about being a little bit left in the dark about finding out about Robyn. Christine talks about panicking and the tears and, it's so the jealousy that comes up for them. For me, Mary, I'd love to know how Janelle felt because Janelle seemed cool as a cucumber, not so worried about Robyn's presence. But Christine and Mary certainly do, especially when he's leaving. And I thought and we haven't really seen this emotion and I think sincerity, I would say, with Kody in the past several seasons. But what you see is this really touching moment where Kody and Christine, they're all on the sofa together, and they're talking about Kody meeting Robyn. And Kody says to Christine, he says one night he like comes to her or whatever, and he's like, I was going through this really hard time in my life. I was really in this bad place, and he breaks down crying, and he says, I got so emotional with Christine, and I'm looking at her, and she says, well, honey, you're lovesick, and the only cure for it is to find another wife. Oh, fuck. I mean, what a horrible, like, to me, don't you feel as though that breakdown is probably because he either knew he wasn't really in love with the women, the lifestyle really wasn't working. I feel like for him to get so real like that with Christine is, to me, him fundamentally breaking down that what they had wasn't working. Now, of course, they just landed this TV show, so they're going to talk about it. But I thought that was such a sad moment, and also a moment where there was a time where Christine and Kody were close, it seems like. Even though by far, I think it's obvious from the jump of season 1 that he was way more in love with Mary and Janelle, I think. But that, to me, was like, oh my God. It was such a vulnerable moment that we don't see with Kody anymore. And also, what a moment where like things were obviously not working in his life, and he began to reveal it. And their idea is to bring another wife in, which is crazy. People do this all the time with children. If their relationship isn't going well, they think having a baby will cure everything. And having a child makes you happy initially. Bring the baby home. Everything is wonderful. People are sending you gifts and taking care of the baby. And the baby's so cute, and there are coos and moments. And then as that child begins to grow up, all the cracks that were there are just magnified. And that's all I could think about. And Christine then makes this announcement. And the second half of episode 2, we see Robyn talking about how grateful she is and how she doesn't want to hurt anybody. And we see Kody say, you know, the women, and then we begin to see the Kody that we kind of know now, right? We see him go, well, you know, Robyn doesn't want to upset anyone. She doesn't want to rock the apple cart, but that's just not how it goes. Like, the women are just, they're going to be jealous. They're going to be upset. That's what happens. Is this like, I mean, this is insane to me. This is like saying, you know what? I'm going to do cocaine. Now, I know the after effects are really shitty, and there's a possibility this could blow up my world, but it's just got to happen. Like, what? That didn't give him pause. And the other thing I think which I'm curious to see how this plays out, but Christine kind of makes a real big deal, and so did the other women, Mary and Janelle, that hopefully Robyn sees that Kody is a better man because of his other wives. That is part, if you're really practicing polygamy and you're really getting down to it, the benefits and the upside of polygamy are that the women make the man better. They make him a better lover, a better father, a better provider, a better sharer of his time. And we said, like, huh? I don't even know. Can someone explain that to me in polygamy, how it's supposed to work that way? Because, as a religious, polygamy for them was part of their religion. And the idea is, more wives, and if you can keep them happy, you're just closer to God. You're like another level, because most people cannot make one relationship work, which, of course, as we found out, none of them believe that, and it can't work. Then we go to Aspen and Madison going to Robyn's, condo, meeting the 3 kids, and the girls are going to watch the kids while Kody and Robyn head out on their very first date. And we're talking about all the emotions, how Robyn feels about Kody, how excited Kody is, and they meet for the very first time, like I said, and she's adorable. She's young. She's beautiful. He's flat ironed hair. I mean, he's so happy. And I would say at this point, he's so likable. I think he's such a likable person at this point, right? You're thinking, wow, what a guy. He's managed to keep 3 women happy for like 16 plus years. Okay. At this point, he seems like a fantastic father. He's open to taking on Robyn's children. He seems like a good provider. We know Janelle's obviously the money maker too. She works in accounting. But this is great. So there you go. We see them. They're getting ready to head out. They embrace. They're just young and cute and in love. And the women, we begin to see Christine and Mary and Janelle back at home, left behind, navigating the household chores without Kody. And how are they feeling? And we know there's like mixed emotions. And then the other thing that I thought was so interesting is how they talk about Kody not being really romantic, which I always do think is a red flag. I do think is a red flag because I do think every man within them it's almost instinctual. I do think men love the chase. I do think there's a level of men kind of like that old school way of asking a woman out, taking her out. And I've seen this in girlfriends' relationships. I've seen a lot of women who are in not great marriages. I mean, they're a decade plus in, and the man is never romantic. And I've seen that they've left him or he's left them, and then he goes on to be romantic with somebody else. That is a huge red flag for me in this episode. When the women say, oh, Cody's like not romantic, and then he's making this incredible effort to see Robyn, to take her out, to wine and dine her. And we're at dinner, because they start the dinner, and he has this little string ring on that one of his, I think Aspen had made him or whatever. It was just, how kids make bracelets and strings or whatever. So he had this little like string, and Robyn puts it on her finger like a wedding band and says she loves it and she wants it. And there's just a level of, because romance doesn't have to be expensive. It's gestures. It's planning something. It's very thoughtful. And to me, when men don't engage in that, there's something wrong because they want to engage. Now, my own husband, I mean, they get it wrong a lot of the time, right? Because I mean, your idea of romance, and I'm sure like mine is like all out, right? Rose petals on the bed. I mean, my husband would like show up with flowers and write these sweet cards. And I'm like, okay, well, why aren't you shutting down an entire restaurant? And where's my new car with a giant bow? You know what I'm saying? My love language is grand gifts. But, I mean, look, he really made such an effort. And I think you have to. And I learned a long time ago in marriage, if you criticize every single thing that somebody does for you, because they feel like they're really doing this amazing gesture, they're never going to do it. Then it like shuts their love language off. The wonderful romantic things he's done for me. I mean, he threw me a surprise 40th birthday party. That was exceptional at this really nice sushi restaurant out here in LA. So, I mean, he's gotten better. I've given him suggestions. He went on a trip to Europe and he wanted to buy me this really nice handbag. So he went to, these men. He went to like a high-end Scottish clothing, like kind of like a local, place. And he bought me a handbag, which I would never wear, but it was really like, he just had taken time and he got, so you see what Kody is doing for Robyn in these driving there, bringing his girls so they can babysit, relieving Robyn, this string ring that she takes, all the praise, the beautiful way he looks at her. It's just like, for the rest of the women, oh, and I know all the women have said that they have no regrets, meaning today, like in the past year, they've been interviewed, Mary, Janelle, Christine. They have no regrets bringing in Robyn because they loved Robyn's kids. They, things started out on an okay note, but I have to imagine that they must have had gut feelings because they're already having gut feelings. In episode 2, tears, jealous reactions. Mary's like depressed. You can tell when he walks out the door. I mean, she had to have known. They had to have known because they all had seen him interact prior to being on camera with Robyn, and they'd met Robyn. They'd had to have seen the chemistry, and they must have had a gut feeling. So there you go. There you have it. That is season 1, episode 2, as it is unfolding for the very first time. And like I said, I think everybody seems likable at this point. Nobody seems a red flag character. And a little bit to me, you're almost thinking to yourself, okay, this is all going to work. And wow, we're really going to get a Duggar family, but, with more fun with these bonus parents. That's kind of what I was thinking if you're just forgetting about current time. All right, there you have it. Episode 2, season 1 of Sister Wives, episode 2. What do you guys remember about this episode? And what did you think if you are following along? Because every single week until we get a brand new season of Sister Wives, which will be out late this summer, season 19 has already been shot. And I can tell you it's going to be very frustrating because I highly doubt it's going to be caught up with real life, which is also what we experienced on season 18. But we'll get to the frustration when that season drops. So every single week we are reviewing an episode starting at the beginning. I'll see you guys next week for episode 3. And in the meantime, if you have any other nuggets of info or foreshadowing that you saw or little Easter eggs that you've discovered, you can leave them at reddit.com/r/thesarahfrasershow. Join our Reddit community and dish. What hair care products are Kody notoriously known for? Do you find it odd that Robyn started their relationship off on TV, knowing him just a few months? And does that sort of lead you to believe that maybe Robyn from the start was not as in love with Kody as Kody was with Robyn? Or am I like unrealistic and Robyn was like, oh, I'm secure in the bag and this is the one? All right. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.